For those of you that don't know, when you first make a chess.com account, you have to do like 5 placement matches in which you don't know your opponent's elo and you don't know your own elo. Your elo is like your chess rating. Mine, for example, is 1222 and my opponent is 800. Chess.com uses these matches to evaluate how good you are at chess and place you accordingly in their ranking system, so that a newbie isn't playing against like a grandmaster, for example. So on my first placement match, I played against Rugby King 15, and he was an 800. I started off with the London, and we're just gonna let the moves play out. I just played the main lines, didn't do anything crazy, didn't really overextend myself, just played standard chess. Attacking the center, creating a strong barrier, protecting my king. Just making slow, good moves that improve my position. So this move right here, he moved his pawn forward, and this is just a free pawn. There's no way you can twist this and turn this. It's just free pawn. So I went and took it. And then what did he play next? Oh, he just completely ignored that I took a free pawn. I took his pawn, so then I can prepare for this move. Something like that, so I can target his queen and put his king in check at the same time. So I take there. Now he avoids taking there because I imagine that he saw that, but I was confused by this move here where he moved back, and I didn't realize what he was trying to target. That he was targeting my bishop. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna advance my pawns on the queen side. So I went and played b3, and he proceeded to take my bishop. I solidified my center and just continued to play, traded pieces, and then I saw that I had a free opportunity just to take his rook. This rook is trapped. So I went out. This move right here is a blunder because this loses you a queen. It may not look like it at first, but it does. Because after you play the move knight to c6, it's a discover check on your king, and your queen is hanging. And you can't defend both at the same time, so you just end up losing your queen entirely. If he plays that, I take his queen, and he ends up resigning because there's no way his king's safety is zilch. His king is just wandering around while my king is very well protected. Nothing can get to it, and checkmate was coming in the next 10 moves probably. I don't know exactly how many, I didn't calculate it out. But that was the first game. Now the second game I played against was against Jonathan Limbo, who was a low 900. The game just started off, he played the Van Krugis opening, which I do not know. He ended up putting his bishop out on c4. Now I didn't realize what he was trying to accomplish. I wasn't really paying attention. Instead, developed my knight instead of playing a move like d5, which is the top mentioned move. And he ends up capturing out a free pawn and putting my king in check. And the only way I can get my king out of check is to move it, which forfeits my right to castle, unfortunately. And he jumps his knight in. Now, and now it's important to see the difference between capturing the knight first versus capturing the bishop first. If you capture the bishop first, he captures with his knight, and you just lose your queen. Simple as that. If you capture the knight first, on the other hand, you avoid that, and the bishop just runs away. I end up just moving my pieces around, strengthening my position, trading some pieces. Now here, a better move to play would have been to like take my bishop. I don't know what he was doing, but he didn't take my bishop and instead let me capture a free pawn, and on top of that I either get the rook or I get the knight, both of which are pretty bad. He ends up trying to jump into position. I move his pawn forward. Now here, this is not a good option, at least because that puts me in direct sight of the queen. Again, this wasn't my best game, but instead a better move would have been either to develop here, or the top engine move is to put the queen on b6 and try exchanging queens. But instead, I just move my knight there. He puts my king in check, moves his knight back, and here, instead of capturing with the rook, I should have captured with the knight instead and threatened the fork here. Did not see that and did not do that, unfortunately, and instead I captured with the rook. He captures my free knight, I jump into position. That move, he wins the free pawn. I move my rook to attack the queen, leaving my knight undefended, unfortunately. I put him in check, and then I tried putting his queen to his king, and basically forcing this trade to happen. And he just puts my king in check, I move it forward, and I anticipated that he would go for a move like this to target this. And he does do that. And the problem with doing that is his best move now would be to play a move like this, like a move like bishop e3, because then that loses the advantage not loses the advantage, but it prevents the mate in one, which is this, which he doesn't play that. Instead, he moves his pawn forward. And in my third game, I had now playing against players 1000 plus. So the games were a bit harder, but I also was playing a lot better now. So see how the games went. Start off with e4, so I played the Pharaoh Khan. I didn't develop my knight here, because if I had developed my knight here, gosh, these arrows. If I developed my knight there, and he could have pushed his pawn with a pressure, and I guess I could go there. I didn't particularly want to do that, and I didn't want to undevelop, so instead, just developed my knight to h6 instead to avoid that whole encounter entirely. Then he developed his bishop within a fianchetto manner. I attacked. He decided to play the late exchange variation, and I just continued along with the main line. Then I pinned his knight to the queen to continue developing. Standards. I played this to push for h4, and hopefully he'll take and we can explode this fianchetto. And he didn't. Well, we'll see later what happens with that. Now here, great move. Kicking out my bishop, I have to move either here, or this just loses the bishop, or I can go here, but that also loses it. I have to go all the way back here, or even all the way back here. Or I could just leave this and just lose my bishop and just take with the knight. Now what he completely missed is that my bishop is staring at his queen and he needs to defend his queen. So he completely missed that, and I just take his free queen. And out here he didn't take, he just developed his knight. I kick out his bishop, I take his knight. And now here I sacrificed a knight. Basically I was threatening this, but then also I was trying to take that. He accepted, and I'm still threatening that fork, but he catches it, which is nice. Which is good on him. Now he plays that. So I move back a bit. Something I want to. Oh yeah, he attacks my queen. I move my queen out of the way. He moves his knight around. Not sure what he's trying to target. Move my knight around. Now here, can you find the winning move in this situation? If you said queen takes f3, queen takes the bishop, you'd be correct. And now black can play. What can black play? Or white play? Sorry. The top engine move for white is to play king f1, but I don't think my opponent would have played that. think he would have played something like a4 or just something pushing into the center, maybe even c4. I could also see c4 happening, in which case I would play this, and he would be checkmated. If, for example, he didn't play that, instead played king f1, which is the only move that avoids. I'd play knight to d4, which blocks the king's attack square. No matter what he does, I checkmate him. Now, I completely missed this entirely. I just saw that, and I'm like, oh, nah, I didn't even see the free bishop, much less the mate in 3. So instead, I play my knight and threaten this and take the free pawn. It wasn't really a free pawn, but I sacrificed. Make another free pawn. Check. Now here is another mate in 3 that was missed. In this situation, I should have played rook e1, or e8, sorry. Or I could have played rook d6 or e6, in which case that would block king escaping this way, and this is just checkmate. He plays a move like that, I go checkmate. I missed that yet again, another checkmate in 3 that I missed. But at this rate, the position is already lost for white. There's nothing white can do. Instead, I put a check on the king. He moves. I continue to just take his pawns, hoping to maybe promote. I pin his bishop to the king. I exchange. And here, I completely blunder the fact that if I take his bishop, he'll take my queen. In this situation, a move like, I mean, really anything, like a move like this would win the bishop. But I missed that. I said take his bishop, and he takes my queen, and now the position is, he has a better fighting chance than he has in a while. And I'm threatening to promote on the next move. I just move my king up, move it out of the way, take his pawn. He only has one pawn. He can't really win this unless I blunder some massive thing. We're gonna pass through this game fairly fast. Not entirely sure why this guy ends up resigning. Just gonna tell you straight, flat out. Now, I'm not sure why he resigned when he did. The position wasn't entirely lost for him. I really don't know why he resigned. But the game starts out. I just play the London yet again. Same stuff, nothing crazy. He attacks my bishop and move it back. And now he has a pawn avalanche coming towards my king, because he knows I'm probably going to castle kingside, because that's how you do it in London. Brings his knight into the play. I attack with d4. This isn't really main line, but I kind of like to do it because it gets greater control of the center. And then he, as you can see here, he just immediately resigns, which I don't get exactly why. I think because he thought that I would, instead of going here, that I take here, and then he just win the free bishop, and then he'd be threatening a lot more. He could take a lot more things. Instead, I saw that coming, and just instead played bishop, knight to e5, which protects the bishop if I were to take, and if he takes, it basically, it's the better move. It's a move that doesn't lose. And, well, don't know why, but then he just resigns. So, yeah, quick game. Now, this is the game that you have all been waiting for. So this game went on for 66 moves before it came to conclusion. When the game finished, he had 1 second left on the clock. Now, I'm not going to tell you whether I won, lost, or drew, but this game definitely was, I didn't play my best, but I didn't play my worst either. I imagine he'd probably say the same. But this was the most interesting game of this entire recap. So I start off with, you guessed it, the London yet again. He plays his defense. I just develop normally. He attacks my bishop. I move it back. He attacks. Now, it's important to note here that you don't take with the bishop here. Yes, you can. It doesn't immediately. It's not really bad according to the computer to take one way or another. I just think it's better to take with the knight. And then here, he just leaves me a free knight, so I just take it. I mean, why not? And here, he forfeits my right to castle, because there's no way I can block this. I mean, I can. If I move, it loses immediately. So, instead, he attacks my king, and then I just slide my king out of the way. My king is still even though my king is in the center, my king is very well protected. He's gonna have a hard time getting to it, even though it's in the center. Essentially, the reason why we castle one way or into either king side or queen side is to get the king to safety, but the king can still be in the middle and still be safe. And straighten off pieces, attack his rook, sliding my rook over. And here, not sure. I think I was trying to attack the queen here, which left this hanging. So not my best move. I think a way better move here would be to play something like b5, which I was anticipating to do, but I was kind of scared with the queen and the rook all staring at this place with the pawns. So I lose the pawn. And then I completely forgot about this rook. And now this is complete. I went from, if you look at the eval bar, I went from plus 4.445 to completely lost in one move, essentially. Just this move alone, where I completely missed that he could take my bishop. Because the reason why I didn't see that was because I forgot that this rook was staring down the d file. And I thought that if he took my bishop here, I could just take with my king, which I cannot do. I end up just losing the bishop. And now he just keeps putting me in check. I run away to safety. He takes my free pawn there. And I'm trying to salvage the wreck of a situation that I've put myself into. Take the free pawn. Threaten to take that pawn. He threatens mate in one right here. Oh, let's not mate in one, but it'll open up my king to further attacks and will definitely weaken my position. The computer thinks the position is dead equal here. In my opinion, black is, I say, considerably better, but I can see I danced my way into his position. Now, this was probably my worst move of the game. The reason why it's bad is because after we all trade, I'm just completely down a rook. Like, that was not good. If I did that trade, then that'd be perfectly fine, because then my queen could take his queen and I'd just be a queen versus a rook. Fortunately, did not do that. And so I ended up just completely down a rook. Now he's winning yet again. And we just kind of go back and forth for a bit. Gives me a couple checks. Takes my pawns. I put his king in check. And now here, I could have played this and then taken his rook. But he didn't do that. I said I just took his pawn and then took his rook. And he just gives me a couple of checks, threatens a repetition of moves. So, along with that, he doesn't want to put this in a stalemate, because technically he's better. It's 3 pawns versus 4 pawns. And his 3 pawns are all passed pawns. Only 2 of mine are passed. I keep giving checks because if you look at his time, he's really low on time. If I give him a check here, check there. Now, this is where we see whether I win or lose. He moves, I keep giving him checks. Move back, And out here, not entirely sure why this is. I think it's because I was moving the same piece. Not entirely sure why that was a draw. But he drew the game with 1 second left on the clock. If I just hadn't played that move, if I had literally played any other move besides B3, like E2, or even like just anything other than B3, I would have won on time essentially. Instead, I drew the game with him having 1 second left on the clock. So, in conclusion, after everything, I went for my 5 placement matches. I went 4 wins and 1 draw and 0 losses. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed the video, appreciate you subscribing. And if you really liked the video, a thumbs up would be much appreciated.